What up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of the Blacktop Podcast. And as you can see, we're two men gaming it today. Christian, gotta take care of the business. That's always first. But a lot has happened in these past couple weeks where we've been chilling and doing our own thing. Ruben with the Dodgers hat. Even though, can you name a player on the LA Dodgers, Ruben?
I can name um, that dude and that dude and that dude.
Did you see the celebration they had where they're like,
No, but
oh
I
my
I
gosh,
I, I gotta be real with you, man. I don't know who
that's
actually
okay.
wears
That's
baseball
that's
caps for the
okay.
baseball teams.
I mean, I can name a play. I used to wear like the Chicago White Sox used to be the thing back when Chance the Rapper did drugs. That was when everybody was wearing a White Sox hat. And
I'm dead.
I could name like a player, but no, I don't even follow MLB like that. I'm gonna be real. But anyways, there's a lot that's been going on. I mean, just to name a bit. The preseason's here. That's like kind of the very last little step before basketball tips off next week. So
For real
we
this
are
time.
right there at the end of the off season before shit gets real. And in all honesty, I think the way things are shaping up, if health is on the side of every team, this could be one of the best seasons of all time. I think. Talent is at
Agree.
an all time high. Again, all these like franchise players are getting back. It's great to see. But just in terms of, I guess, the little roadmap to what we're gonna do, we're gonna overreact to the preseason because that's the best thing to do. That's
As we
how
always do.
Bull's going to be a franchise center the way he played today. I mean, Trey Jones is going to be a dog. The Keldon Johnson led Spurs are going to be NBA champions. It's a lot of stuff to cover here. But not only that, the start of the NBA season means that fantasy is upon the horizons. And, Ruben and I, we're not in any mutual leagues, but, we both
We'll do it next
partake
year.
in the.
We'll
Oh,
do it next
Hundies,
year.
we'll do one for sure.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff to discuss on that side too. Let's get right into it. But before that, Ruben, my dude, what up?
Man, I'm doing good, bro. It's been a busy week. My best friend got married last week.
Oh yeah, yeah. Congrats.
Got a home share client that got sick, so we had to bring him to the emergency. And then obviously Thanksgiving weekend, but busy
Yeah,
times. How about you,
for
bro?
for the
How'd
Canadians,
the weekend do for you? Yeah,
us
yeah, oh, yeah,
super
that's right.
solid.
Canadian
Yeah,
Thanksgiving, y'all
Canadian
listening?
Thanksgiving, the real Thanksgiving. Nah, but it was nice. Spend some time with family. The usual. Ate some turkey.
And the hair too, bro.
Yeah. Shout out to the homie
Promoting them.
Chloe.
Shout out to Chloe. That
Yeah,
was
for real.
crazy.
I mean, it's kind of bled a little bit from what it was when it started, but I don't know. It's nice. I mean, uh I teach dance obviously for those that don't know. Ruben I'm sure knows that, but yeah, I didn't get too many kids reacting crazy to it, which I don't know if it was like a good thing or bad thing, but that's what happened. But
You know what it is? I feel like it's normalized now, like the
yeah,
cool
for sure.
hairstyles. But I feel like it suits you. The smiley face. I was like, you know what? Definitely couldn't pull this off, but DJ could definitely pull this off.
Appreciate that, bro. Yeah, I mean, you know, some other homies don't share that same optimism, but I appreciate that, bro. Let's
Ah,
hop right
damn,
into it
really?
though. That's okay though.
Yeah, well,
Everybody's
screw
entitled
him
to their
though.
opinion.
Screw him though. DJ does whatever he wants, man. Do whatever you like to do, bro. It ain't about them.
No
You do what you
kizzy,
do.
no kizzy. But all right, let's talk about the preseason. Ruben, my dude, I think there's no better place to start off with than the teams we root for. How do you think the Raptors have looked so far?
You know, um, I think a lot of the same issues still apply to their Raptors this year from last season. Is their lack of overall size. At the center position, Koloko's not going to come in and play 20 minutes, and he just isn't that experienced yet to play like a large amount for to be out there against a guy like Embiid or Jokic, especially where his size is probably most needed. So that's still the number one thing that jumps off the board. Um, and it feels like when Fred is not on and he's not shooting well, his team struggles because a lot of the players aren't 3-point shooters. I think Otto Porter will alleviate that when he's back from injury. So I mean, I'm just gonna give you like my rapid fire things that I've seen from Toronto. Delano Banton, awesome. Like I think
Dog.
he looks like a breakout player this
Yeah.
year, and if there's anyone that I hope really emerges as a key player moving forward for the Raptors, it would be Delano Banton. I think he pretty much embodies everything about Raptors basketball on the defensive side, on the offensive end, and then obviously his size. He's a young player. He likes to push the pace, and it looks like now the game is slowing down for him a bit, which is why he looks faster out there. I think he can just make those reads better now. He's got a full year under him, and he also started off last season playing a lot of minutes. So, um, I'm really excited about him. But the biggest thing that stands out to me is I'm going to say this pretty plain and simple, and for everyone to understand, is this team just doesn't have any hoopers. There's not a single hooper on this team. And like Pascal Siakam is a guy who can get a bucket anywhere and everywhere. To me, he hasn't looked good in preseason, and I think partly that's because I think all of these guys are still trying to just ease into the things. They've looked good in games where they are kind of trying their own sets and playing their main guys. But yeah, I think they lack hoopers. So they lack that guy who's in the in between game, like a guy like a DeMar DeRozan, a guy like a Chris Middleton, a guy like a Drew Holiday, a guy like a Jordan Clarkson, a Tyler Hero, a Devin Booker. Like I can go on.
So there's it's not that there's like aren't any bucket getters, but there aren't really any guys that can kind of go at their own pace. It's kind of going with what the rest of the game is giving them, kind of thing. Right?
Yeah, it feels like this team is so heavily built around 3 and D and pick and roll, where it's just you don't really have a guy in there who's that triple threat, triple level scorer, three level scorer. Where when you need a bucket in a drought, like Toronto is one of the worst teams when they go through pretty bad scoring droughts where they won't score for like 4 minutes, or they'll score 2 baskets in maybe 6 minutes. And what's keeping them in these games in these situations is defensively they are one of the top teams in the league, and they have really good individual defenders in that system under Nick Nurse, or even going all the way back to Dwayne Casey. This team has always been a really good defensive team, but offensively they can't put things together because there's not a guy on the team that can break apart a game, and that's what Kawhi did over the years. That's what a guy like DeMar DeRozan over the years did, and that's what they've lacked pretty much since I want to say 2020, and ultimately why I feel like they lost to the Celtics also in the second round of the bubble, because they lacked a guy that you can give the ball to and then just create his own shot and get a bucket in any form or fashion without any run sets, without any pick and rolls. A guy who can break down the defense all alone. I'm thinking a guy like Pascal could ultimately be that, but he's still very much a system player who likes to be in transition. Maybe Gary Trent evolves into that. It would be nice to see him because I think he's got the most potential to be a 3 level scorer. I just don't think he has enough floor awareness as a player. But I mean, yeah, just to sum everything up, I think a lot of the same issues as last year, and that's where I would have loved to have a guy like Donovan Mitchell or Kevin Durant on this roster because I think that's where they lack the most before they can get to contender status. So again, big overreaction on the preseason. I think they're going to be a still really good regular season team. But I think what takes them over the hump in this case is like someone's going to emerge as that guy who can break apart defenses alone, and I don't think the Raptors have a single guy like that right now.
Till Scotty blooms into the full picture, man. That jumper looking nice.
It is. I just don't think he'll get there.
No,
I'll
that's
say
like a
earliest by next year.
yeah, that's like a 2 year project at least. But
I agree.
solid, yeah. No, I mean Raptors gonna be good, but yeah, I do agree that you weren't really able to fully address that problem at all during the off season, and now it's gonna kind of still linger. But you know,
Yeah,
if there's anybody that can figure it out, it's Nick Nurse, I think.
for sure.
But yeah, for me, when it comes to the Bucks, yeah, I think a lot of the same sentiments where it's not necessarily that there are any new problems, but those old problems still pertaining. Specifically, the offense is very stagnant with that when Giannis isn't there. You know, outside of Chris Middleton, Grayson Allen can somewhat create his own shot, but it's not to the level to where I'm putting the ball in his hands and telling him to go grab us a bucket. It's kind of like, you know, second unit. If you're the guy on the court, go ahead. But once you're in the flow of like the starter offense, obviously that's not really going to be a shot that you'd want him to take. But
Yeah.
outside of that, I mean, the Abu Dhabi games I think were not necessarily the best kind of
A lot of those are
window into
washes
it.
though too.
Yeah. Like a lot of them where the games were over by the third quarter, if that. I mean, Trey Young looked like a fucking demon in that second game. DeJounte Murray showed why, he's that guy in the first game. But overall, I think it's similar to a lot of like the teams that are fully established, especially with the fact that there isn't a team entering with the same type of continuity Milwaukee's entering. So they don't necessarily, obviously, the preseason is important, but it's not as important for a team like Milwaukee that's had like minimal changes. But I think the cool thing about it, which I think is a big thing where all the teams in the preseason is you get to see the young guys flourish a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
Mamu Kalishvili is a guy I'm very high on, baby
I like
Jokic,
him.
whatever, but I like his ability to run the floor. He can take it coast to coast. His 3-point shooting still needs to improve a little bit. I think before we think about him usurping like Serge Ibaka as the third string, but I think if there's a guy that can do it this year, it's Mamu. And then the first round pick, Marjan Beauchamp, he's a dog.
He
He's
looks good,
he
eh?
gives a lot of effort for sure.
I think he'll be a contributor this year. And I thought
I do
that
too.
I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm right about that because I said the same thing last year about Jordan Nwora last year, where I thought that he would get some playing time and get a chance, but it's really difficult to do on a contending team when you start to implement young guys. But anyways, I think Marjan Beauchamp, if he gets a consistent time slot in the rotation, I think he can be a contributor.
100%. I mean, speaking of Noir, I think Beauchamp's going to easily kind of take up his minutes just based on the fact that as much as Noir's offense when his shots hitting, his defense's lapses really make up for the fact that or it gives a reason why he doesn't get as much burn as like I think a lot of us think he should be. Me like
Right.
being before last year, where I was like, you know, this guy's gonna take the next push. He's gonna flourish into this like second round pick. That's like Chris Middleton esque because that's his whole storyline as well. But if there's one thing Marjan is gonna be able to do is play defense. The shot's a little wonky here and there. He's shooting it, which is nice, but just the defensive tenacity he brings, the length, the size. I mean, it's going to be good to have, especially considering that Chris Middleton is going to be out for the first bit of the season. So I think you'll see a lot of Grayson Allen and him kind of splitting those minutes at the three. And once Joe Ingles is back, and if by the grace of God the Bucks are able to acquire somebody like a Jordan Clarkson, I mean, his team's just as nasty as it was last year, and just praying for the health. But all right, now that we've got that out the way, Ruben, my dude.
I do want to make one comment on that though.
Oh yeah,
Like
yeah.
just on Milwaukee and Toronto, there's two things. I just want to make this one observation. We both echo the same sentiments about our team kind of keeping the same issues that they did last year. And I do want to say to obviously those who are listening, it's a typical thing. It's a typical thing that comes into when a team has continuity from year to year. Oftentimes, unless there's a significant change in your main core rotational players, you're gonna still inherit the same problems that you had the last season, unless someone makes a significant jump. And I feel like both Milwaukee and Toronto are teams that are kind of banking on internal development this year. Um, Mostly because of the fact that Toronto's still a team that's still on its way, and its core players and its stars, like they're still fairly young. Like Pascal's turning 29 this year. Like he's still not even 30 yet, I think, or he just turned 20. I can't remember. And then you look at a team like Milwaukee, who is obviously well established, and again, a Chris Middleton away from winning an NBA championship, right? So it's like people might be like, well, you got the same problems. It's going to be the same results. Well, I mean, you're hoping that some of these things don't apply. Like both teams struggled with injuries last year. Both teams struggled with some key rotational players being out of the lineup. And so hopefully at the end of the day, luck plays a big part of it. And so hopefully some of those inherited problems from last year kind of fix themselves with health and obviously internal developments. But I just wanted to make that observation because I think
No,
that's the
yeah,
thing that we,
that's
we tend to forget about
a
sometimes.
very solid point. Yeah. And then one more thing, like just real quick, Javon Carter, that dude's a fucking beast. That dude's a dog. Shoot the shit
It was
out
a
the
great
ball from
pickup
three.
last year, hey?
Undies. I mean, here's the thing, man. I love George Hill. For those listening, if you didn't know, I used to be like a Pacers fan back when Paul George was going toe to toe with the Heatles, and George Hill was definitely got his ass carried, but it wasn't like to the extent of other players. But that's just a long way of me saying Javon Carter, I think, should definitely, the way he's played even last year and bleeding into this preseason. I mean, George Hill's very much like a player coach at this point, kind of like a step above Udonis Haslam, but still to the same point where he shouldn't be getting PT. But anyways, yeah, that was a good point to make, Ruben. I mean, yeah, I don't think, aside from like obviously big moves like the Timberwolves and the Cavs, a lot of these teams are for the most part still have their same core. There wasn't really as much shakeup as much as there was with those two big moves. But moving on from that, what random could be whatever. Ruben, what are some other like kind of preseason observations you've made in this past couple weeks?
You touched on it a bit. I underestimated a little bit, but I think I always forget this because I always say this so much often with people when I argue about like when you should trade players is when you have the best player available in trade or any deal or when you have the talent, you worry about the problems afterwards. Right? It's like, okay, you get all the talent that you have, you make sure you got everyone. And it's like, for example, in a Kevin Durant trade, let's say it was all up in the air. At the end of the day, you try to get the best talent possible, and then you worry about all the issues later, right? I feel like a situation like Atlanta, we talked about their rotation, kind of their depth looks really sus.
Shout out to the
They got the
holidays,
holiday.
man.
Shout out to the holiday
Hey,
brothers.
Aaron
They
looked
not even
good.
half of that.
Aaron looked good. I'll
Aaron
say
looks
that
good,
much.
but when you have talent, when you have a backcourt like Trey Young and Dejounte Murray, I will argue that I think they're the best backcourt in the league.
Hey,
I think I'll.
it,
I don't even know if it's close.
I'll hop on that train. Yeah, I mean, those two games just showed why, especially in the first one, that it can definitely work for sure.
Yeah, they definitely they are working, and that's the thing. It's like they're working, and what's even dangerous about it is the other guys are starting to eat. Like you can tell that DeAndre Hunter is going to be a huge beneficiary. John Collins is going to be a huge beneficiary. They already have been, um, and then I'm liking what I'm seeing from Onyeka Okongwu.
Oh yeah,
Right, so
Onyeka's gonna
it's
be
like
solid.
he's going to be really solid. So you have a really solid 6-7 man rotation. Um, I really like what I'm seeing from them. I don't know. Maybe you wanted to share your thoughts on Atlanta before I moved on to my next observation, but
No, 100%. I think I echo all that same stuff. Another guy I really liked seeing though was AJ Griffin. I think when you look at
yeah,
what the Hawks lost throughout this offseason, I think Kevin Herter was a big piece when it comes to like who's being able to spot up. AJ Griffin, he's got a torch on him for
mm,
sure. And I think that's going to really allow him to slide into sort of that relief small forward role when DeAndre Hunter, whether it's like more injuries, because unfortunately that's a big thing that's been a part of his career, or whatever it may be. AJ Griffin, I think, is a guy that, you know, you can tell him to spot up and he's going to knock that shit down. Uh, Jalen Johnson's a dude they drafted last year. Didn't really see much of him in the preseason. I guess, like, I don't want to say he's cooked, but might very well be. So AJ Griffin, I think, has a chance to really break into this team. And I think that's the thing that they're missing a lot of. It's that this team has a lot of bucket makers. They have a lot of guys that have the ability to create their own shot. I mean, their three guards when it comes to like their scoring options. Obviously, DeJounte, Trey, Bogdanovich. It's a lot of guys that can create offense, but outside of guys like DeAndre Hunter, I think can shoot it pretty solidly. John
yeah,
Collins obviously is one of those guys, but outside of those two, it's a little sparse. Justin Holiday, he has that kind of knack as the 3 and D, but his shot ain't falling as much as I'd liked it to be. But again, that's why I think a guy like AJ Griffin's going to slot right into that situation. And as I've said, the Hawks are the team that I think have the biggest boom bust potential. It's either they're going to be like really, really, really good, or it might crash and sunder a bit. But I think a lot of people, myself included, thought there'd be a lot of need for time to develop for this like backcourt to mesh together for everybody to kind of get their bearings. But I mean, day one, I think they hit the ground running. And when it comes to like when, you know, the lines get real, they're gonna be nice.
Yeah, no, I agree. Atlanta's they're looking scary, so I think it remains to be seen if they'll actually work in the regular season because a lot of things have to fall into place for them because like the East is hella deep this year. But we'll see how that goes. Another observation that I wanted to make for this is um, Brooklyn is so weird to me. Brooklyn is so weird to me.
Yeah,
Ben Simmons didn't. It, you'd think that he. I mean, fair enough. He hasn't played like literally in what a whole year and a half. So I'll cut him some slack there. But it's such a weird team. Like they're such. I don't know what else to say. They're such a weird team. The vibes are so weird. Like they have the talent, but I think a lot of it falls on whether or not Kyrie and KD can both play 60 plus games this year. If Ben Simmons looks anything like the All Star that he's been, and then the other guys around them are able to play well. I think Claxton also has to make a huge jump development wise as a player. There's so many what ifs, and then seeing them out there against Philly, who my other observation is Philly looks freaking good.
for sure.
Philly
Oh my
looks good.
gosh,
I think they might
scary hours.
and don't take this anyway, DJ, because you already know how I feel about Milwaukee and how I'm very much on their bandwagon to win the title this year. I mean, at least win the East. Uh, but I think Philly might finish first this year, partly because I think Milwaukee is a team that doesn't give a care about the regular season
Oh, no
right
doubt.
now,
Yeah,
or they haven't been.
I'm not anticipating them coming out as first seed for sure.
Neither do I, and I think they're going to take it pretty easily with their rotation guys. I think Giannis is going to be awesome as he usually is. I just don't know if he's really going to be gunning for it in the regular season because I mean, when you win that first one, you already know like okay, well, we just got to get in unscathed. But I think Philly's really gunning for the first seed this year. They look good. But with that being said, Brooklyn's a team that has been like at the top of many headlines already, and they look like such a weird team. Like I can really, it's like you when you meet someone for the first time and you're like, I don't know, is this guy like cool? Is this guy like you can't read a person? I can't read this team. Like you would know right off the bat, oh, this team is gonna be talented. Oh, this team's gonna be this. They don't have an identity. Like I don't know what their identity is. I think part of that falls on Steve Nash being not a very good coach, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
Um, sorry to our BC native man that we love, our Canadian mans, but
it's all love here, Steve. But there's a reason Kevin didn't want you steering the ship.
yeah, no, fair. That's a fair point. But yeah, I don't know how you feel about them because I wanted to see what you thought because like after watching Brooklyn in the preseason so far, it's like I just can't. I just don't understand. It's like I don't even know how to explain it. Like they're such a weird team to me, and they're so intriguing in that sense because they're so tantalizing. Like potential wise, like this team could be the number one seed in the East. They could also fall to like 12th. And I don't
Dang,
know that
12th
there's a
is
team in the NBA that has that kind of range where they could be super bad, but they have the talent to be the best team in the league. And it's like I don't even know at this point.
yeah. I mean, I think when it comes to Brooklyn, we're all looking at an incomplete picture. Ben obviously
Yeah,
is going to need a little time to
yeah,
adjust. Seth Curry is out of the lineup. Uh, Joe Harris looked like playoff Joe Harris, and if that's the Joe Harris you're going to get for the whole year, your team's cooked. But Joe Harris is a guy that's been shown to be like one of the best shooters in the league, plain and simple.
yeah,
And when you look at it, it's like that whole thing where we always think about on paper this team looks good, but it's just a matter of them translating it. I don't think there's a team that embodies that saying more than the Brooklyn Nets. Obviously Kyrie and KD are instant offense for themselves, and I think it's valid to say that you know anything below 60 games played apiece is very questionable to see how successful the team can be. But I'm I'm I'd still hold on to some stock for the Nets. I think Ben's gonna start to put it a bit together. I don't like the idea of him. I mean, you saw him shooting the ball. A lot of that I think looked very forced, and none of it looked very natural. But
Yeah,
we
agreed.
we all saw that first, Brooklyn tweet, Ben with the nice little like get back at he strained that shit. And
Yeah,
I think the thing with Ben Simmons is that I don't need him to shoot the ball necessarily, but I think it needs to be a lot like Russell Westbrook, where he might have a shitty percentage, but at least he shoots it. You want to keep the defense honest at the end of the day. And if you're known to be this guy that is so deathly scared to shoot the ball, that allows the team to pack the paint more. But if you're a guy who can even, it's a lot like Giannis, where Giannis can't really shoot the ball all that well, but he shoots it. I think that's evidently what we need from Ben for the Brooklyn Nets, where it's obviously not going to be his first go-to shot, but given the space, all the stars align in a sense. If he
yeah.
shoots it, that might be the difference. And I'm not gonna lie, I might be a Milwaukee fan, but can you imagine, Ruben, how electrifying an Eastern Conference Finals of Philly and Brooklyn would be? Can
Oh my
can you
god.
imagine? Cause like, okay, the only like downside
Oh
when
man.
it comes to home court advantage, if you measured it, I'm pretty sure Brooklyn's probably like one of the worst. But just the idea of that storyline, it's like these are the two
Yeah.
guys that were supposed to win championships all along, and now they had to split up, didn't even make a conference finals together, and now they're in the conference finals, but on the off. Oh my gosh, that's electrifying if you ask me.
I agree. Can you imagine like the reception both Harden and Ben Simmons would get?
Oh my gosh.
Because oh my god, because oh my god, like I don't feel like it would be a very safe environment for either of them. I mean, James Harden let more or less with Brooklyn, I think is not nearly as bad, but I mean the way he forced himself out of that franchise is very similar to when he left Houston. So yeah, I don't know. That would be so fun to
That
watch,
would
but
be.
realistically speaking, I don't.
Oh
I
yeah,
hate
that's probably
I
not
hate to be the
happening,
Debbie
but
Downer. Yeah,
yeah.
I'm the Debbie Downer here. Unfortunately, Brooklyn's not gonna make the Eastern Conference Finals. I'm pretty confident about that. Ask me again maybe in January,
I think they're
and
the
I'll see
one
if they
team
put
where
it together.
everything
But
has to go perfect.
that's why I'm saying
Milwaukee was
KD and
obviously,
Kyrie.
yeah, Milwaukee was
Yeah,
able to, make do without Chris. Celtics obviously had one of the worst starts in history and turned that all around. When it comes to the
yeah,
Nets, Kyrie's obviously in a contract here. So I think Kyrie is, I'm not going to lie, I think Kyrie's probably going to be the steadiest of the three. KD's obviously getting older. He had the injury last year, but even before that injury, he was playing like an MVP last year. So I don't think it's crazy to say that he can't get back to that. But
agreed. Yeah,
evidently, when you're looking at the track record with health, Kyrie, I think, is probably the most solid of the three when it comes to that. And when that's like, you know, Kyrie's not no obviously symbol of health. He's had his problems too, but this team is definitely, yeah, it's the hardest to judge. I think, yeah, you're right. They're either going to be like top of the mountain or just like scrambling for the scraps. And
yeah.
not gonna lie, with a team like Kate, with a team that has Kevin Durant, that's not a good situation to be in. Plain and simple.
No, definitely not. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see what how Brooklyn does. Again, like you mentioned, like they've Kyrie and Katie both have to play in 60 games because it's not a guarantee that when they play those 60 games that they're gonna win every one. But if you don't have these guys for at least 20 plus games this year, that's a lot of room for that's I mean, you don't have a lot of room for error already as it is. And so when you don't have your best players out there, this is a team that kind of lacks identity already. So when you don't have guys you can rely on. You don't have superstars that can carry you to victory on any given night. That's a really difficult thing to overcome. But it'll be interesting to see. I think Brooklyn is some they've rightly so been in the headlines, but I also feel like they don't deserve a lot of attention at this point because I think there's a lot of things. I mean, they came together and everyone's like, "Ah, Brooklyn's the team to beat. Brooklyn's the team to beat." And then they end up being trash for every year that they've been together. So, I mean, at this point, I feel like the league is so deep now in terms of talent that you could have a big three and it doesn't even matter anymore. I mean, I think Toronto was really the first team to kind of squash that thing, right? I mean, they really like obviously injuries played a part, but um, I mean, it's not like that Toronto team wasn't like an all-time talented team as well, but you know what I'm trying to say. It's. I feel like ever since then, you can have a big three, but when you have depth and you have a good system and good coaching and a good organization, that's why teams like Milwaukee have won it. The team like the Lakers and they, obviously a bubble championship, but still, like why a team like them won it. And Golden State was able to get back to the crown. It's because there's a lot of organizational things that went right from top to bottom. And so, it's just one of those things.
Yeah,
So we shall see.
2019 was definitely like, I mean, have you ever seen that post where it's this guy that broke down like literally why every championship was quote unquote lucky? Like,
Yeah,
yeah, so I think it's the similar thing where 2019 was kind of the first one that made that evident. But yeah, no doubt, that's always a big part. I mean, it's going to play a big part again. Hopefully, health towards every team. But yeah, for sure. I like
yeah.
that. Yeah, that's a good thing to bring up.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the only observation I can make is the Clippers look scary. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
for me, the preseason is really hard to go through every team and certain players. But the Clippers are scary, and they're my favorite two in the West this
Yeah,
year.
John Wall's got the Dougie back,
I
minus the
know,
gag size though.
and he's but like with all seriousness, like how good does he look right now? Like
Oh my gosh.
athletically,
Whew.
oh my god,
Was it his first possession like a spot up three too?
yeah,
Yeah, John. Oh man, I'm excited to watch John Wall play, man.
me too. I think you're lame if you cheer against John Wall. If you root against John Wall this year, I think you got to root for John Wall this year. I mean,
No
he's been
doubt.
through a lot. His story is crazy. The man had a lot of mental health issues, like to the point where, he struggled with, being alive and stuff like that. So I mean, I'm really rooting for John Wall, and I'm glad he's in a situation where he can like truly win a championship. So I'm gonna be rooting for him a lot this year.
People forget that John Wall earned that big ass contract he got from
He did.
Washington. He earned every bit of that money. I mean, again, I think I brought it up one time before for a different player, but when you look at the players that have averaged 20 and 10, it's not a big list. But John Wall's on
No,
that shit.
no, John Wall has been a special player in this league. It's just he struggled with injuries as well, and he struggled with being an organization that I just don't think had the resources to get them over the hump. Like they had always been. There's the Atlanta Hawks of the world, like from like 2014 to like 2017, where they're like,
Shout out to
you
Bud.
know, and then it's also Washington was right in there where they were just middle of the pack, and Toronto before they made the trade for Kawhi, and then they blew things up 2 years ago. So it's like, I think he finally found an opportunity to be great and then contribute to an actual winning program. So for me, everything else, I'm trying to think about, the preseason, if anything else stood out to me. Um, quite frankly, none of the rookies really stood out to me, too. I got to be honest. Paolo Banchero wasn't that great. I mean, it's preseason, so it's hard to judge. It's also their first year, so there's nothing to compare it to. Um, and I'm also glad to just see like Zion back out there. He looks
Oh, yes.
explosive. Like he looks scary
He's
good.
back.
Um, yeah, I mean that's pretty much off the top of my head. DJ, I'm sure you have a ton of observations you want to share.
Yeah, for me, the Magic, I think, frankly, Franz and Paulo are going to be probably one of the best up and coming, if not in the next 5 years, the best small forward, power forward duo, in my opinion. I mean, those two, electric. Not only that, you got a guy like Wendell Carter Jr. I mean, Bol looks solid today, as I
He looked.
mentioned
He actually
earlier.
looked good. He's been looking good
Yeah,
actually.
I think the Magic are going to be the Hornets of a couple of years ago, where they're not necessarily winning a lot of games, but they're going to be very fun to watch. Apollo's going to be, must see TV. Obviously, the best like NBA ready body coming into like the draft. Franz Wagner's coming off a crazy international summer, and he was already again. I think him and Scotty looked the most comfortable out of all the rookies last year. So, you know,
Yeah.
you don't really anticipate much of that uh sophomore year like struggle or anything like that. Like Franz, I think can get up to like 25 and 3 this year for sure. Same, I think Paulo can put up those kind of numbers too. And then you look at that, Wendell Carter Jr. again is gonna like start to improve. Jalen Suggs, he's kind of the wild card, I think, where he was supposed to be, he was supposed to be your guy in Toronto,
He's
but
injured
obviously
again.
that did happen.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
for sure.
injured again, man.
Yeah,
Hopefully he's all right.
hopefully he's all right. And not only that, a guy that I'm really pulling for. I'm sure that every NBA player, every most fans who aren't soulless humans are pulling for is Markel Fultz. I mean,
Yeah, Markel Fultz.
Markel Fultz is that guy. I think he has a chance to really be kind of the post injury D Rose where, you know, obviously not everything went to plan, but, still has a chance to be a really big contributor on a team. And I think that Magic team just has all the makings to be, a force.
Yeah, no, I agree. And they brought back what's the name? Gary
Oh
Harris
yeah, bringing back a
and
nice vet there. They still got Terrence Ross,
Terrence Ross.
that's a
They
Pacific
could make noise
Northwest
this
boy.
year.
Mm.
They could make noise this year. That could very well be a play-in team, and a play-in is not bad in this position where they are because the East is incredibly deep. They're a young team. They've got a lot of growing to do. I will say at some point they've got to figure out the logjam at the guard position because
Yeah.
they've got a lot of guards, but they're banking on the potential, and I think they're just kind of seeing who weaves themselves out of that group and is like, okay, I'm the guy. Clearly, it's been Cole Anthony out of the four thus far, with regards to him, Cole Anthony, Jalen Suggs, and RJ Hampton. So I think, am I missing one there? I feel like I'm missing
I
one
think
there.
those are the main three. I think Caleb Houston's the guy they drafted this year too, but I don't think he's putting his name into that conversation at the get go. But Ruben, I'm curious. Do you view Cole Anthony as a starting like guard in the league?
Yes and no. Yes, because he's already shown that he has the knack for NBA scoring. He's already shown that like on any given night the dude can explode and he can contribute and he can produce. No, because I just don't think he has that instinct on the defensive end, and I just don't think he also has those floor general skills that I think have to be natural for a starting guard in the league. So, guy like you look around the league, like a Drew Holiday. I just like using Drew because he's an easy example for you, but
He's
it's like Drew,
tried and true.
uh, Kyle Lowry, Chris Paul. Um, who else can I go around? Fred Van Vliet. I'm going around here. I'm trying to think. John Wall, a Trey Young, a Stephen Curry, a John Morant. Would you put Cole Anthony in that conversation in that group of players to be like, oh yeah, he's got the same floor, court, offense, and awareness that these guys all have? Like you definitely wouldn't. I mean,
No.
it's more of a this is more of a rhetorical question because you already know the answer to it. It's like no, you wouldn't put Cole Anthony in that conversation. For me, he is a point guard in the shooting guard's body, right? And I think or sorry, he's a shooting guard in a point guard's body. I got it the
Yeah,
other way
there we
around.
go.
My
There we
bad.
go.
He's a shooting guard in a point guard's body. I think he's a really good combo guard, and if you pair that well with the right guard, which I think is going to end up being Jalen Suggs, because I think Jalen Suggs has a really good feel for the game. He just hasn't been able to figure it out yet. Um, and or Markel Feltz or maybe RJ Hampton. But I think RJ Hampton's more of a two guard. But I mean that rotation is what they play with. Um, Cole Anthony, I think, has to show a bit of leap on saying, "Hey, I'm the lead guard. I can get us in control. I can get us in position, and I can make those plays, or I can understand time and score. Like those things that these point guards at a great level can say, oh yeah, like this is why our team is so good." Because you obviously can't have success without a really good lead guard. And Cole Anthony is a great producer. He's a great bucket getter and all that stuff. But can he lead your team? That's a different question. I don't think he's there yet, and I don't know if he has that floor awareness like the other guys do. So, anyways, um, yes and no, yes and no. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
for me personally, I this sounds like disrespectful, low key, but I like him much more as in the 6 man rule. I think that really comes down to the fact that, like you said, he's a shooting guard in a point guard's body, and when it comes to how many mouths you're gonna have to feed on that team, having like a lead guard who's much more scoring oriented is something that I think, while obviously is not necessarily the biggest of hindrances, can be when you think about again how many guys are going to have to get the ball and the fact that you're the guy that's supposed to handle them all the ball and you yourself like to score the ball. It's just a big, yeah, log jam is the perfect word for it. And
That's why I got like Fultz fits perfectly in that
yeah,
situation, right?
Fultz I think is the perfect guy to kind of really set everybody up. You know, he's not the type to really take over games when it comes to like scoring the ball at wills, unless you're talking about Washington Markel Fultz. But he's I think can be their classic point guard. And then at the end of the day, you just slide Cole Anthony over, or if Jalen Suggs takes a massive leap. But I'm probably banking more on Cole Anthony holding down the starting role there. But yeah, I mean, again, I think the Magic have all the makings to be that next team. It's just a matter of if
Yeah.
Jamal Mosley can put it all together, and I think he
I
can, but we'll see.
yeah, I think that I think the organization feels the same way we do. You know why? Because why the hell have they held on to Markel Fultz for so long, despite all of his troubles? Right? It's like because they really believe in the dude and feeling like, okay, he's really that piece that can gel everything together. You need that. You need that gel piece, and so sometimes your point guard might be that guy because he's who gets everybody in the right position. So yeah, hopefully Markel Fultz gets better, and we'll see how this goes. Because the Magic have pretty much the whole format for them to get better and be a really good team in the future is laid out for them.
Oh yeah,
It's just a
they're
matter of
they're
everyone
playing with
develops.
house money this year. You know,
Yeah,
if they take that big step that I'm guessing you and I are kind of banking on right now, it's that you know they're looking like a team that could be a big force in the upcoming years, and is a force already in a sense. But you know,
I think the
if
same boat as
they're
Detroit.
yeah,
Detroit's in the same boat as them
yeah,
too.
I think it's a lot like it's what the Raptors ended up looking like last year, where you know, not necessarily that the expectations are sky high, but they aren't like playoff lock in the playoffs at all kind of thing. So if you are able to get there, big achievement. But if you don't get there, hey, you went to the Wembanyama sweepstakes.
Yeah, I don't think there's a. I don't think this season is awesome for that very reason because you can try to compete, and if you don't compete, everybody in the lottery has an honest shot at Wembanyama. And even though everyone's looking at it as a two-player draft,
Oh,
Scoot
this
Henderson
draft
and
is
Wembanyama, this
deep.
draft, oh my
Oh my
god,
gosh.
dude, oh my god, this is a deep
Whitehead, the
draft.
Thompson twins, Anthony Black, like
Yeah, this draft this is gonna be
there's so
insane.
many guys. There's another guy who's like a 7 footer who can shoot the ball pretty well. I think it's Derek Lively who's going to Duke or something like that. But
Mhm.
yeah, the obviously it's still very early, but a lot of the things I've heard and read is like last year's draft was already so good. That's like this draft might be
This
even
might be
better
the
in a
first
sense.
30 player deep draft type of thing.
Mm.
Like this might be the first time where you're like, I have a lottery talent at pick number 27. Um, so it's and I think it's gonna be. I feel like the draft after it, even though there's no Yamas or Scoot Hendersons, the draft after that one is gonna be insane. Because have you seen that dude? What's his name? I don't know if he's in this draft or next year's, but Amen Johnson's his name.
I haven't heard of him. No.
Oh my god. Oh my god. That dude's insane. I think he's just finishing up his senior season, or he's just having a senior season this year. But oh my god.
Yeah, let's talk
Anyways,
about Wembanyama and Scoot though. I mean, did you watch both
yeah,
games?
I watched the game they played against each other. I think that was all I needed to know.
Yeah,
I didn't watch the one that's after that because I wanted to see them two against each other in like the competition. I just didn't think that there was any level competition for them after that. But I
are
don't know. What can you say? Like,
are you a believer? I guess is the first thing I'd say. in
You know
Wembanyama.
what? I'm a believer in Wembanyama, but we are sleeping way too heavily on Scoot
That's
Henderson.
what I'm saying.
We are sleeping too heavily on Scoot Henderson. He looks like a third year guard in the NBA.
That dude's like 17, 18 now.
He's got unreal confidence. He's got the same athleticism as a John Morant. He's got a lot of the same floor skills as a Trey Young. Like he's got every package that you could ask for from a player. He's incredibly marketable as your superstar. He's an American, which is huge, obviously, for the American market because the NBA obviously heavily dominates the North American market. But like Wembanyama is crazy. Like I think like you're stupid not to take him the number one pick. Like I get it. He's 7'5" and can do Kevin Durant like things at 7'5", and he's also great defensively. But Scoot
Scoot is
Henderson,
that
bro.
guy, man.
Yo, Scoot is him. Scoot is literally him.
100%. Oh my gosh. I think the main thing for me though, he has the in between game down pretty tight.
He
And
does.
when you look at all the players he's being compared to, Derrick Rose, Russell Westbrook, as you said, Jaw, these are guys that, for the most part, not solely, but a lot of their game is predicated on getting to the rim. And
To the
as
rim,
time goes
yes.
on, they develop that in between game. As like you
Scoot's already
said,
got that.
Scoot's already got that. He's entering the
Yeah.
league as like a third year guard, pretty much. When you think about it, I mean, scary hours and whew,
His,
he
his
would.
ability already to read the defense at his level
Oh,
is what makes him beyond. Like
mercy.
people could say, okay, like the athleticism, it's like at a 17-year-old, okay, awesome. His ability to shoot, yeah, great. But when you can read the game and make it look so easy at your age already, and look like you are miles beyond everybody else when they're your age, that's how you know that this guy is like, okay, he's really meant for the league. And I think like right off the bat, he's going to be a huge contributor for whatever team he plays for.
No doubt. I mean, hey yo, I'll lock it in now so that we can look back on this years later and see how right or how wrong I was. I think his ability to read the defense, all this high IQ stuff he's pulling off, he fuck it, I'm gonna say it.
Is he getting rid of? Oh, okay, I'll let you say it.
Scoot Henderson is going to be Chris Paul on crack. He's going to be Chris Paul with amazing athleticism. He's going to be Chris Paul when it
On
comes to
crack.
all this in between game and the ability to like get everyone
He's gonna
involved and
be
still
Chris
take over
Paul.
games. I'm saying it right now. I he's never been compared to him out of all these guys, but when you look at what he already is coming in with and how he's going to develop, ooh, yeah, I'll say that. I'm okay if I'm wrong. Scoot
I thought you were gonna
Henderson's
say something. I thought you were gonna be like, "Oh, Scoot Henderson's gonna win the Rookie of the Year race when they're both in the league."
that's a 50-50
That's,
shot. I like to stay bold here on Blacktop Podcast. Fuck it, man.
you think that's a 50-50 shot? I think everyone's gonna be like, Wemby's gonna win the thing, but I feel like the narrative is obviously because Wemby's like 7'5" and he's gonna do things that are insane. But like, I think Scoot's got a legit shot because I think he's more NBA ready than Wemby is.
Yeah, I think that's why I don't think it should be I think it should be the 50-50, but I think you're right where it's everybody's going to kind of drink that Porzingis Kool-Aid again,
Yeah,
except
no,
Wemby
there you
looks a
go.
lot more fluid. Oh, wait, did
Yeah,
Porzingis win Rookie of the Year his year?
no, I don't think so.
No, but he
That
just
was the
had everybody.
2016 draft, yes?
Yeah, he just
2016
had
draft.
everybody drinking.
Let's look it up. Let's make sure. Rookie of the year. Was it not all right, let's do some research here. 2016. Wait, no, was he 2016?
He was the 2015 draft, so that would have been. Oh, did Cat win it?
Yeah, Cat won it.
Yeah, Cat won it, but nah, man, fuck it. I'll look a few years later on. Scoot Henderson is gonna be a better Chris Paul.
Ooh. Yeah, Porzingis. Yeah, Porzingis was all team first team. Carl Anthony Towns won it. Okay, yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, outside of that though, can we take a moment? Unarguably, I think the greatest sports commentary name of all time. You know what I'm talking about, Ruben?
Sports commentary name of all time.
Steven Ho You Fat.
Oh, dude. Yo, that's hilarious. I can't believe that was an actual name.
For real? And did you see what's Shaq's kid's name? No, Shakir's the younger one. Sharif. He did
Sharif.
the jersey exchange with the guy.
Yeah, I was like, dude, he actually did that. Stephen Ho, you. He's like, Ho, you fat with the three. And yes, do
Like,
not
yeah,
tweet
I
at me. That
said
is
it.
a real name. I was like, wow, Ho, you fat. Like, it's almost like that can't be a curse thing anymore. Like, you can't get censored for that. It's an actual name. Ho, you fat? Really?
Hey, goaded
How much
last
you want to
name.
bet his mom was? How much you want to bet his parents was actually like playing a joke? And they were like, you
I
know what? Let's change our last name to Ho You Fat.
see. My thing is, I think it's like probably. I think it's like Antetokounmpo, where it's like that's not really like the last name, but I think because he's in France, maybe like if I had to guess, I think he's probably got like a longer last name than what is like publicized, I guess, or what gets put on the back of his jersey. If I had to
Oh
guess, yeah.
man, that's crazy. I've just never like what in your life would you have ever expected to see on the back of a jersey? Ho You Fat.
No, I mean, I feel like there's like other ones that are in that line that I've seen before. Like, mm, I can't think, but I think hockey, for example, it's a lot of like weird European names. So there's nothing like Ho You Fat, but you know,
That's what I'm saying. Like
yeah,
Ho You Fat is like yo
that's
Ho You Fat.
that's
Like
that's top tier. I don't think you can
that's
really
top
beat
tier.
that.
That's what I'm saying. I'm
Yeah,
like, damn, that's tough. But anyways, that's insane.
yeah, no doubt. I guess last thing I want to touch on before we'll head into the fantasy thing is I think you know, when it comes to this rookie class, there's one guy I'm keeping my eye on this entire season. You know, LSU boy, Tari Eason. That dude is that dude's nice. I think, the guy I forgot the name of like the Rockets assistant coach, but he compared him to like basically in essence Dennis Rodman with an offensive game. And now, well, obviously, I don't know if he's like that kind of rebounder and that defender yet. We'll see what he's going to be like in this first season. But
But it's the tenacity he's got.
oh yeah, he's
Yeah.
got, and not only that, on the commentary they're saying they don't run plays for him. He just gets in the right spots, gets his where he can fit in, kind of thing. And yeah, Tari Eason is. Whew, I don't think it'd be out of the realm of possibility to say he cracks the starting lineup within like the first month or two.
Yeah, I
That dude's
agree.
special.
Yeah, he can produce, and if you're a guy who can produce when plays aren't run for you, it means that you understand um very key fundamental things like filling the gaps, understanding time and score, um, when you're cutting off, you're being able to cut off weak side, understanding strong side positioning, knowing where the ball is, trajectory of a shot, being able to follow that up, knowing positioning. I think that's really important. And players like that, you look at, guys in the past who've been really good at that, like really good at filling gaps and spaces, like Rip Hamilton's of the world, you know, um, DeMar DeRozan is actually really good at that. LeBron James, early in his career, that was like what he made his name for, was that when he didn't have the ball in his hands, he was so good cutting off the ball and finding open space. Um, a lot of those really guys who think a step ahead. And so Tari Eason's got that. And so when you come into a league with that kind of skill set, with that kind of knowledge already, you have a leg up on other competition, and so that's really important for you to have kind of right off the bat.
Yeah, no doubt. But alrighty, y'all. So, fantasy basketball. This would be the perfect time to announce a sponsor, but we still starting out, so sooner rather than later, maybe we'll
DraftKings.
see.
No,
Yeah,
I'm just kidding. Hey! If you guys want to drop your name again, pay us some money.
yeah. DraftKings. I ain't saying the name again unless you bring a bag. It ain't got to be a pretty bag,
Yes,
but a
sir.
bag. But When it comes to fantasy basketball, this is probably the closest any of us gets to being a GM unless you play 2K. And yeah, I think let's start this off. Ruben, my dude. I mean, you drafted two teams, right? So I don't know if you want to go through both, but who'd you end up picking this year?
Yeah, no, you know what? I drafted one team. I've got two more drafts this weekend actually.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I'm gonna be running three teams this year. I'm running my own league, but yeah, I'll go through my team and like let me know what you think right off the bat.
Mm.
So
Okay, wait. But before
and
this though, which pick did you have?
I had the fourth pick, and it's a snake draft out of 12 teams. And so I'll give you like my little ones and twos a little bit after, like my own summary, and then I'll let you kind of react to it. So I'll just go from top to bottom, like my point guard to my IL. So, all right. Or should I go by my draft, like my draft selections? Should I go in order by my draft selections?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, let me. How do I figure this out? All right, let me see. Go to draft. Let's see. Draft results. All right. So my first pick in the first round. So I'll just go. So 1 to 12. I selected Joel Embiid,
Can't go wrong there.
Paul George,
Oh yeah.
Kyrie Irving, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, um, Chris Paul, John Collins, Christian Wood. Let me
That's
see.
the one.
Gary Trent.
Oh, Gary Trent was money in
Yep,
fantasy last year.
he was. I got Dylan Brooks because he was money last year too. Jaden McDaniels, that's my potential pick.
Oh yeah.
I picked him up because I think he's going to be the starting three. I think he was already labeled as a starting three this year. My last two picks were Al Horford because I think he's still going to be the starting center.
Yeah, and he's gonna get a lot of opportunity with
Rob
time
Williams
laid
out
out
for
for
at
the
least
first bit.
at least 3 months, right? First 2, 3, 46 weeks, something like that.
I
He's
think
gonna be
that's
out for a
I
while
think
though.
that's when they're gonna like reevaluate. Yeah.
Right. And then my last pick was Karis LeVert.
You know what? You know I'm not mad at that. Karis.
Yeah.
Okay, before I think this will be a little tangent. What do you think about the fact that taking the fantasy bias out of it, when looking at the Cavs, do you like the idea of him starting over a Okoro?
I said yes. Remember, I think we talked about this already. I said yes because I think I like Karis LeVert. I think they're just more talented team if they have Karis LeVert. But I also agreed with you saying Okoro makes a lot of sense because he brings a lot of defensive versatility that Karis LeVert and Donovan Mitchell don't have. And it's a struggle when you have a small guard and then your two wing players are poor defensively. So you're going to rely a lot on Mobley and Jared Allen to recover. And neither of them are great perimeter defenders, right? They're known for anchoring the paint. And again, that's why I think Evan Mobley's defensive stuff I think was overblown because of the fact you have Jared Allen behind you. Like that's like whatever. Anyways, yeah, I would say I like Karis LeVert as a starter if they're prioritizing offense, but if they really want to be a balanced team, I think Okoro's the right guy. I don't know. What do you think?
No, 100%. Yeah, definitely. And Karis got a bag, so I want to see him be
He
able to
did.
use that bag. And the
I
only
agree.
way
I
he's going to
think
be able to bring out the Duffy, I think, is if he's like kind of the 6 man, go get buckets kind of guy.
I think it fits. So 6 man role fits him perfectly. He's a guy who can score like bunches. I just like Karis LeVert a lot, man. I also felt for him when he went down with his major injury,
Oh yeah,
and then and he's like, dude, do you remember that Brooklyn team where it was him, Jared Allen,
that
and Rondae
team was
Hollis
so
Jefferson,
much fun. Oh my
and
gosh,
D'Lo?
Jared
That was such
Dudley
a
was
fun team.
acting like he was that guy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Spencer Dinwiddie. Oh my god, like that was a team full of hoopers. That was a team full of hoopers, and it's like you gotta love that team. They were so young and they were so together, and they broke it up for like a couple of years of mediocrity with Kevin Durant, James
yep.
Harden, and
For
Kyrie
they
Irving.
gave it up
So
for a second round exit and a sweep.
that's what I'm saying. I'm like, bro, honestly, you should have kept that development, and I would have loved to see them. I would love to see another team give Kenny Atkinson another shot. because
I
he was
mean,
great
he
in
had the
Brooklyn.
shot, but he wanted to win a ring.
That's true. That's true. He did want to win a ring, and I'll
Yeah,
give it to him. So
I
he
think
made the right
he'll
decision.
definitely have depending on how this year's goes. I think he'll definitely be one of the names out for sure.
Yeah, but yeah. With regards to my team, the number one thing about my team is if they're healthy, I think I've got the best team in our fantasy league. But I have it's high risk, high reward
Mm.
team because again, Embiid misses a lot of time this season. Paul George just came off a major injury. Kyrie Irving, you never know about his status. A dude could be like, "Oh, out this game, going for a walk." You know what I mean? And then Shea Gilgeous-Alexander,
He
he
gonna
could
catch
very
that
well be locked
Wemby.
down. He's gonna catch that Wemby out. You know, we're just hitting about this back and forth. But I gotta say, in terms of star players, I've got 7 deep, right? Joel, um, PG, Chris Paul, SGA, Kyrie Irving, John Collins, Christian Wood. Like I like where I'm at depth wise. And Gary Trent was solid last year. I've got really good role players, Dylan Brooks. So I've got a lot of depth there, and I'm banking on the potential of Jaden McDaniels with the Timberwolves playing out nicely as him going to be the starting three alongside Rudy and Cat.
Mm.
And I think he's going to get a lot of those nice blue collar stats. I think he's going to be a guy that gets steals, blocks, rebounds, and I think he's going to get those second chance points. I think he's going to be a guy that gets a lot of assisted baskets playing with a guy like D'Lo. He's going to attract a lot of attention. So yeah, I'm really excited about my team this year, at least for this league. It's a league with my high school buddies, and I think a lot of them didn't draft very well. So, my buddy took Alperen Sengun like fourth pick.
Oh my
You know,
gosh,
so
really?
like his fourth rounder was Alperen Sengun or fifth round. So, shout out Danny, your draft was ass, and I let you know it during the time. Um, I
Oh,
think
you
his
must have cooked
oh
him.
no, cooked him. No, his fourth pick was like Cade Cunningham,
Oh,
and then Alperen Sengun was like 5 or 6. Like I was like, brother, I don't know what you're doing, but you know, he still had he still had he still had a bunch of all stars left on the board. So
yeah. I'm trying to look where Sengun went in my draft.
you know what? Let me look at his team right now. Um, Big ballers. He got the first pick, by the way. So he had like Luca, he had Zion, and then he got Cade. Oh my God, Cade was his third round. Josh Giddey was his fourth. I'm gonna make sure. Franz Wagner was his fifth. I actually like that pick. Alperen Sengun was his round 6. He
Sengun went
he took a
7
bunch of
in my friend's draft. That's
yeah yeah. He drafted Keegan Murray, so and then he
dang.
took Jalen Smith in the 8th round when he could have
Hey,
had
he
like
letting all the young bucks. He going for all the young bucks.
he grabbed James Wiseman, Tari Eason, Trey Jones, Santi Aldama from Memphis. So I mean, he's gotta hope Luka Doncic goes off for 80 fantasy points a game. Because like,
Are you
brother,
guys
that
doing
team's
points
awesome.
or cat?
We're doing points, so I think how we draft is gonna be different. I'm not much of a 9 cat guy. I like to play 9 cat in public leagues where I can just join one.
Hmm.
But man, I feel like there's so much more energy and research required for 9 cat, and I'm like, I can't do it. But I'm interested to hear. I think it's great because we have both different perspectives. Like I can share this perspective about my points league, unless you got a points league also. But
No,
um,
this one I think both of mine are going to be 9 cat.
all right, let's hear your team.
Yeah, so I'm going to do the same thing. So round by round, my first round pick, tough. I got Lamelo, and obviously the whole
No,
ankle
no.
sprain thing.
What pick were you? What pick were you?
I was eighth.
Who took? Oh, 8th pick in our draft was Kevin Durant.
KD went fourth. I've had the option of like
Hey,
the
he went
top
fourth.
guys were
Yeah,
yeah,
it's Jokic for sure, top 3.
yeah. It was Jokic, Embiid, Giannis, 1 to 3.
Oh, Embiid is better for 9 cat though. He is probably a top 2 9 cat.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay, that makes
and
sense.
Lamelo's a 9 cat demon because he's
Yeah,
stuffing everything. But obviously, yeah, that's
stage
you
2
know
ankle
it's a
sprain.
little it's tough. But you know what?
Damn.
we're the cheek clappers and we clap back, baby. My second round pick. But I got Dame because I think Dame's just, he's gonna have obviously the biggest
Yeah.
green light out of any player. Third round, I'm kind of banking that he might get traded. I got DeAndre Ayton, but even if not, he has all the offensive tools. He's shown the flashes, I think, to really, take that
He's
step
a
up.
solid 9 cat
Yeah.
player, right? I mean, with Damon Lillard though, you're punting a few of the stats defensively.
Oh yeah, but yeah, I'm not gonna lie. When I look at this team, it's like, yeah, defensively, I might be a little cooked, but that's okay because
Okay,
I
fair enough.
got
Okay, I'll let you continue. Sorry,
yeah
my bad.
the one guy that I think will hold me down for the blocks, Miles Turner, pending any health.
Yep. Unless they
Bi.
get traded for each other.
Oh yeah, yo, low key, I was like, yeah, they might.
Yo, you might.
Yeah, Bi round 5. Tyrese Maxey didn't go till round 6 in our draft, and
Oh, that's insane.
Maxey's gonna be a dog. He's averaging like 18 points per game on 16 minutes a game or something like that right now. Well, obviously that's
Yeah,
preseason.
efficiency for him is gonna be insane. He's
Yeah.
always been an efficient player.
Oh,
Anyways.
oh my gosh, Franz Wagner, I got in the 7th round. Franz is a guy that really held me down last year. After that, Jalen Green, Buddy Hield, obviously going to be there to shoot everything. I got Dame's backcourt mate who I took last year before his hot streak, Anthony Simons. And then I also got the heir to the Jay Crowder throne in Cameron Johnson. And then round 12, I got Mitchell Robinson. And then my last pick, I kind of picked
Mitchell
up
Robinson is that 11? 12 picks?
at
Mitchell
round
Robinson
12,
11
yeah.
is. Oh, right. Yeah. Okay, that's
I
pretty
think
good.
him and Turner, I think, are going to hold me down for the blocks. And then I got Benedict Matcher in with my last pick, but I dropped him for Tari Eason just because that was like 4 Indiana players.
Right.
But yeah, obviously the LaMelo thing kind of sucks, but I think looking at everything else, my guard play especially, I think I'm gonna be alright.
Yeah, your guard plays good. You're punting a few defensive stats. You just
Oh,
gotta
for
hope
sure.
Miles Turner and Mitchell Robinson gives you those blocks. Because yeah, I think that's the only thing I can think of. Your rebounding would actually be okay by committee.
Yeah, I think
Because you have like
there
pretty
isn't
solid.
anybody that refuses to grab a rebound. I don't think.
Yeah, man, it would be nice though if you had LaMelo. Because I feel like fantasy wise, LaMelo is Luca light right now. He's
Definitely.
Luca light. Like him and DeJounte were very close for me last year. DeJounte was so killer last year.
Oh, fuck, definitely, yeah.
But hey, that's a pretty solid team.
Yeah. And then I guess let me rifle off Chin's team since she's not here, so the man Dan can still be a part of it. Which was his team's name? This terrible podcast.
Let me just go. Yeah, just see.
Oh wait, here. He's the Yuta Watanabe fan club. He's got.
Of course.
Oh, we're gonna talk about our fantasy sleepers after. He's literally got all of them. So obviously, I'm not gonna go off. I'm just gonna go off his roster. He's got John Morant, Colin Sexton, Chris Paul, Jason Tatum, Keldon Johnson, Paulo Banchero, Rudy Gobert, Valanciunas, Julius Randle, Westbrook, Malcolm Brogdon, Ayo Dosunmu, Jay Sean Tate, and he drafted Robert Williams, who's obviously on his IL. So I think Chin's got.
What the hell? How the hell did he get that team?
Yeah, he because I don't want to assume that all the guys we were drafting with weren't aware of any of that stuff, but he literally got all the guys that because leading up to this we're talking, yeah, Keldon Johnson, I definitely want to try to get him in a draft, and he got all the guys that are gonna be stat stuffing the fuck out of the ball.
What did he have?
He had 4.
Who was his first pick? Jason Tatum?
Yeah. So he had
Tatum
4.
at 4 is a pretty good pick.
He had to rep the home team there. Oh wait, no, he got Tatum at 7. Oh my gosh, look at it go till 6 in our draft. What the fuck?
Are you serious? How many teams? 12?
No, we're doing 10.
Okay, I get the teams would be slightly stacked, but holy shoot, how get Luca at 6, man. That dude would have in a 9 cat endpoints, he's top 4 for easily.
Hundies.
In our draft, Luca was taken first. Kind of crazy, eh? points. Like Jokic has been the
Points.
points king for the last
Yeah,
2 years, and
That's
he took Luka first. I don't know.
I think that's just banking on the fact that I guess maybe his like Jokic's
I think he's
scoring
got yeah.
might be a little affected, but
I
we
think
didn't talk
Luka's
about
gonna
the
win MVP
Nuggets,
this
but
year.
oh yeah, I think you banked on that too. I can back that too. But I mean, the Nuggets obviously are getting all their guys back, so I think Jokic, what he loses in scoring, like man, he might average like a cool 20, 12, and 15.
It's just crazy. Like that's insane. Like 2012.
20,
Oh my
12, and
god,
15. That's
2012 and
some 2K
15.
shit. But
You
anyways,
could
yeah.
actually do it though.
Hmm?
You could actually do that though.
Oh, for sure. I mean, Jamal Murray looks like he hasn't really lost a step. MPJ, I think, is obviously the biggest wild card out of all of them, just because the back is something that's been plaguing him since college. I think
Yeah.
Aaron Gordon's a guy that's going to be really good now. Well, not that he wasn't before, but now that he's not looked at as a second option, ooh, scary.
I love
Kentavicius,
the I love their Caldwell Pope edition. Like that's huge for them.
like that whole roster, I think is really solid. But uh, going on off of that
Bones.
tangent, let's talk about Bones for sure. Let's just talk about some fantasy sleepers. Let's just go one by one. Ruben, who you got as one fantasy sleeper?
Ah. uh, Alexei Pokushevsky from OKC. I'm gonna give it from the points perspective because he plays three positions. And I think that he's going to be a clear cut starter. And he's a guy that fills up the stat sheet, right? I think he's going to give you a cool, on a nightly basis, maybe 12 to 15 points, anywhere between 5 to 8 rebounds, 3 or 4 assists, a block here and there. So I think he's going to be a nice pick. I did realize that, at least in points categories, he's the most picked up player within the last few days, and rightly so, because again, he plays three positions, so that's a lot of versatility for your fantasy roster. So you got to definitely look at him. Um, I think a really good fantasy sleeper for some people would be Precious Achua for Toronto because he's a guy who's been able to produce lately, and especially when he's starting. Nick Nurse just came out and said, like, okay, the five players that we've been playing are our five best players, but it may not necessarily be our best starting five on any given night. So just watch out for him in certain matchups. I think if they play teams like Philadelphia, Denver, Minnesota, I think you can expect to see Precious in the starting lineup and play a lot of minutes. So he's also not afraid of the green light. So I think he's a guy you look at. But anyways, those are my two. I know I just slipped in two there when you wanted one, but
Oh, good,
Pokushevsky,
yeah.
I think he's a huge one. I
Poku,
think I think he'll be good for both Night Cat and points.
I'm gonna be real. I'm just waiting until Lamelo gets that injury tag, and then I'm gonna try to swoop him up. But
Nice.
I'll ring off two here. It'll be two from the same team. I think Keldon Johnson and Trey Jones are going to be
Mm.
two big whales when it comes to fantasy. Obviously winning don't mean shit in here, but when you look at the green light these two guys are going to have, Trey Jones is like literally the only point guard in that entire locker room, at least pure point guard. So we'll see what he's going to be. If he's like even half of what his brother is, I think he's going to have a solid year. Turnovers might burn you a bit because they're inexperienced and young, but when you look at the assists, might be tasty. Keldon Johnson, I mean, he might fuck around. He gonna be calling Sexton like an average like 27, but the team loses like 60 plus games. So
Yeah.
Keldon Johnson, I think is solid. But all right, let's flip it back to you, Ruben. Run off one or two more, whatever you want, buddy.
Well, at least in my league, I'm looking at like our free agency pool. I think like people, you drafted who you drafted, but I think right now with Draymond Green's absence, and I think also moving forward with Otto Porter gone and Gary Payton Jr. gone as well. Look at increased output from Jonathan Kuminga. I think he's gonna get some time. I think the word is Draymond will be at the ring ceremony, but I don't believe he will play. Um, and the timeline for him to return to the team is unsure. So I think put in some stock into Jonathan Kaminga. I think one more I've got is if in case nobody's drafted him, like and in our draft, no one's drafted him, no one picked him up, is Zubac. Zubac
Oh,
is great.
really?
I think yeah, no one drafted him in
That's
our
steady
yeah.
Eddie.
Yeah, he's a steady Eddie. He's a good back and rotational guy in your fantasy roster. If you have, if you're someone who needs like a good util spot, or just an extra big, like a third big, like that you need to trust to put in there. I mean, he's again steady Eddie, starting center for the Clippers. They're going to be a very good team this year. I think he's going to get a lot of easy looks playing with a guy like John Wall. By history, John Wall's made a lot of Bigs money over the years. Andre
Shout out to
Blatch,
Gortat.
Marcin Gortat. And so I think Zubac is going to be the biggest beneficiary actually to playing with John Wall, because Zubac is also a really good high post player and a really good player off the roll, and he's able to make a lot of decisions in like the mid roll. So I really like Zubac. I think if you got him in points, I think he'll be great. I'm not sure in the 9-cat situation. He's not really a guy that fills up the stat sheet. Um, uh, Not that I know of, in the sense of like efficiency and things like that.
I mean, yeah, I think that's probably the main thing where you'd grab him. Like, he's not a guy that's gonna have like a 4 for 10 kind of night.
Yeah, like he'll definitely be punting some of the points and potentially even like some of the defensive stats because he's not a great shot blocker. But in the fantasy situation, like he's a guy who gets just enough for you to get 20 to 25 fantasy points that you need to fill on any given night. So if you need a big for that, I'd probably say Zubac.
I like that. I like that. My next guy, I think I'm just going with all the obvious ones here. Colin Sexton. I mean, last time he was
He's
on the
coming off the
floor.
bench though, hey?
I think that's just for now. I don't expect that. Do you think that's gonna be like the
That's
real rotation?
I think they're starting the vets. But they did start Malik Beasley at shooting guard. So, anyways, that's kind of interesting. That obviously Mike Conley is not a guy you're gonna bring off the bench right now,
Yeah,
but I think that's gonna stay like that for a little bit.
maybe for a
I
little
think
bit.
Colin Sexton will himself into the starting lineup, but I don't foresee that happening until maybe December or January.
Mm.
But
Even
I would
then,
say he's a
yeah,
sleeper later on because like
definitely.
I still think he's a guy that can produce, right? So and he's gonna play a lot of time, even if he's coming off the bench.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the Jazz aren't going to be in a lot of the games this year, so
No,
there there's no way he plays below 22 minutes a game, I don't think. So
no,
I
not at
I'd
all.
still pick him up. Christian, this guy got all like the sleepers. So not only that, Colin Sexton's a guy I think I still hold a decent bit of stock in. I think he's got an opportunity to fill a lot of the sheets, but you know, with whoever the Jazz get in this next draft could really see that either he's going to be able to like cement himself, or it's just kind of like, you know, being the unfortunate. It's like it's similar to the DeMar DeRozan thing, but I think it's to like a way worse extent cuz like
Yeah.
you're, now you're in Utah. But yeah. Do you have any others, Ruben?
I mean, the last one I'll give you is KZ Okpala. I think he's going to be the starting forward in Sacramento. So I believe I
Over
just
over
read that.
Keegan Murray?
Yeah, I think believe he's starting at the 4 right now. So they like his at least his athleticism alongside as a bonus. Even though Keegan Murray is I think he's going to be a huge contributor this year, and I think he's going to be an underrated running for Rookie of the
Oh,
Year.
he's a dark horse. I like Keegan Murray.
Yeah. Um, but I think KZ Okpala fits better there on the defensive side for Sacramento. But I think he's a guy that can get you 20 to 25 fantasy points on any given night if he continues to start. Um,
Gives you a
because
bit of
he's a guy who
everything.
gets a lot of
Yeah.
those defensive stats, yeah, and a lot of second chance points. But yeah, that's all I
I
have.
respect that. My last one, I'm gonna throw in a guy who's close to our home. Vancouver boy, Brandon Clark. I think
Yeah,
obviously the Jaren Jackson Jr. holds a big thing there, and I mean they're already saying he's out for maybe like the first month or whatever. But Jaren Jackson Jr. is a guy where we've seen him like literally play, like completely not play the entire season, then show up in the bubble.
yeah,
But yeah, I think Brandon Clark, he's a guy that really showed in his first season he could be that sort of utility gadget guy. Lost a little bit of a step in the second year, and then this coming year, really carved himself as that sort of PJ Tucker esque role, that Swiss Army knife. And putting him in the starting position, I think he's gonna be able to do a lot of that same thing. And Brandon Clark, we always cheering for our guys from home. Brandon Clark,
Yep.
Kelly Olynyk, uh, minus Steve Nash, but there's still love for that guy.
Always. Even though he sucks as a coach.
Yeah, and even with all like the incoming Canadian guys, Benedict
Benedict Mathurin.
Mathurin, uh,
He's
another,
gonna be awesome
yeah,
this
a
year.
guy we didn't talk about for the G League, Leonard Miller. I think that's his name. Super nice, nice little 6'10" guy that can do a bit of everything. But
Gotta be honest, don't know him, but
that's all good.
I'll take your word for it, TJ.
Yeah, no, he's
Take your word
he's
for it,
looking
TJ.
solid. I think he's entering this next coming draft. I think he's probably more towards like the end of the first round, but
Yeah.
Any guy from Canada that makes the league, I'm gonna at least ride for him a little bit.
Team Canada is looking solid. If everyone were to commit,
Oh yeah.
it's like almost at this point, like which NBA players do you actually take on the team now?
Oh, no
You know
doubt.
what I
I mean,
mean?
Wiggins, I know, is a guy who's kind of like on the fence right now, right? Like he's not
Yeah.
technically on it, but wait, there's a chance he could still like obviously crack it,
He can
right?
still do it. I think the reason why he didn't commit this past summer is because he's coming into a contract season,
Yeah, that makes sense.
right? So, the same thing happened with Chris Boucher. Like a lot of these guys in contract years just don't want to risk anything. Um, and there's more than enough talent for them to choose from. But I mean, look, if we were to try and list off this Canada roster, we've still yet to do a full episode, and we've been wanting to for a while. But Jamal Murray, you've got SGA, Wiggins, RJ Barrett, Dylan Brooks, Kelly Olynyk, Dwight Powell. Those guys have been mainstays. Um, and then you're still talking about the Delano Bantons of the world, Kem Birches, the Chris Bouchers, Benedict Mathurin's now. Did I say Delano Banton? I did, right?
Yeah.
You still got Tristan Thompson, who still is very much supportive of the program, who's been very much involved. You've got there's a bunch of them. I'm like thinking about it now. I'm like, wow, there's so many
Corey
players. Brandon
Joseph has
Clark is
even been
obviously
a
one.
part of
Corey
it for a
Joseph.
while. Yeah.
Yeah, Corey Joseph is still that veteran guard that Nick
Olynyk
Nurse
was a
loves.
solid center, I think, in like the qualifying
He
games.
was. How am I thinking? With the Canadian that I realized is a Canadian, but isn't going to be playing for Team Canada.
Duarte?
Chris Duarte.
Yeah. He's from Toronto.
too bad
Or
he
he was
isn't
born
from-
in Toronto,
yeah.
right? But he represents DR. Or yeah.
Yeah, he does. But it's there's a bunch of other Canadian players, and it's. Oh, I just realized too. Fred VanVleet's getting his dual citizenship.
Oh yeah, yo, not gonna lie, you put Fred on that team. Whoo, fuck.
They placed 3 guards. Like I would totally let them be like, yo, Fred, Jamal Murray, and SGA. And SGA is like 6'6". He could totally play the
He
3.
can play the 3.
Come on, that's kind of crazy.
A nasty lineup. Oh my god.
Because Fred's definitely not going to make the U.S. team, unfortunately. But like, you give him a chance to play for the Olympics and Team Canada, with that roster. Whew.
Another international thing. You hear about how Embiid's trying to get his French citizenship?
Yeah, I saw that.
Can you imagine? You line up fucking Wembanyama, Embiid, and Gobert.
No, he's trying to get his U.S. citizenship. U.S. is trying to get him to commit to the Team U.S. But I think he should just stay with the French team.
Wait,
and just put out. No, Embiid. He's trying to get his U.S. citizenship.
Oh, I thought it was a French thing
Team
originally.
Team USA is trying to fight for him to commit to Team USA as opposed to playing for the French national team. But if I were Embiid, I would say stay with the French national team so he can play with.
Well, isn't
Embiid.
it? He's working on getting that as well. Because I think right now he has the Cameroon. That's where he's technically repping. But then it was him trying to go for the French thing.
I can't remember. But if he's getting for both,
if he goes,
let's say he's fighting for both.
Matt, if he goes to the U.S., that is literally worse than Kevin Durant switching. That is literally. Oh my gosh, if Joel Embiid were to go from playing for France, who's obviously one of the better countries, but if he were literally to go from being one of the best international players to representing the U.S., literally the biggest snake in fucking history.
Okay, but the reason why I don't think it's that much of a wash, because I still don't think the roster that they had last year is anywhere close to the 2012 or the Redeem team.
Okay, but Ruben, my guy, Zion,
Dude,
Trey Young, John Morant. They're all these young motherfuckers, man. There's no
okay, but
reason for Joel to go
I
to
know,
go to the
I
U.S.
get it, I get it. But like the rest of the world is really actually catching up now, like with basketball. Like what is it? Nigeria beat them last year, Team USA, with Precious Achua and Josh Okogie and
Yeah, I think it was,
KZ Okpala.
and then
Was that the
France beat
team?
them during the
Yeah.
qualifying rounds. Yeah,
Australia is still a really good team, right? Lithuania, right? Lithuania is still solid. Serbia, Greece. I mean, every team is actually really good now, like internationally. And so it's like, I think Embiid should stay with France if he does.
they
Because can you
should
imagine
definitely.
that French lineup?
That's what I'm saying. Wemby, fucking Embiid, and
Gobert,
Gobert. Whew.
Evan Fournier. Would you pay to see Evan Fournier
Fuck
then?
no.
I'll pay to see him with a lineup of Wemby, Embiid,
Yeah,
and
if
Gobert.
he's playing with them, sure. I'm not paying to watch him play with Jalen Brunson and fucking, unless Cam Reddish is in that bitch, I ain't going. Unless Cam Reddish is shooting that thing more than Evan Fournier, I ain't going. And Ruben, when Fournier and him square off next time, and when Cam Reddish is in a Seattle uniform, he's gonna fucking dog him.
Yo, man, who knows? Maybe Cam Reddish will give him the Draymond Green in practice, and
Oh
then
my
it's like, oh, well,
goodness.
Cam Reddish has to get moved to a new team. We didn't even get to talk about that because that video came out after we did our podcast last week,
Yeah.
right?
It was very, very. I mean,
What do you think? What do you think happens? Because
like moving
Draymond
forward.
Green's mom just doubled down,
Oh yeah, I
and she
think that
was
was a
like,
bad. But my thing is this: I think it looks way worse just because it got leaked, and just the fact that we live in this world where everything's moving so fast and everything's just like, you know, everything's very quick to like throw blame. Not to say that like
yeah,
Draymond doesn't deserve any, but Steve Kerr literally got punched by the fucking goat, and they still won. So I
yeah,
don't
and
I
they
don't think it does
clarified
anything
that
to
story.
their, yeah, it doesn't do anything to like their championship hopes, prospects, I don't think, but I think it's just they're going to have to do that much more of a job of making sure none of the outside noise seeps in. But if there's anybody that
Yeah,
can kind of steer that ship, it's Steve Kerr. So, obviously shitty
if I could
situation, but
say,
I don't think it's worth kind of saying the Warriors are cooked or anything like that.
I agree. I agree with that. The reason, yeah, I agree with that because it's like, let's be real here. If that video didn't get leaked and it was just Shams' report saying there's a physical altercation,
Nobody cares.
it's
Yeah.
basically like the Emi Udoka situation. You could speculate all you want, but if it wasn't public, Draymond Green would have been playing in every preseason game, and everything would have been all cool. Everything would have been all cool, and they would have been saying, "Oh, like we're gonna have disciplinary action for Draymond. He's probably gonna miss a little time because he got in a physical altercation with Jordan Poole. Sweet, all right, boom, that's it." But because everything went public, now everybody's got an opinion. It's the headline of every story. Every family member is going to get involved. All the reporters are going to be asking the right questions. So the narrative is there. And so all they can think about is the outside noise. And so for me, it's like you said, it's a matter of whether or not they'll let the outside noise get in within that locker room. I think it already has. And with Draymond Green's mom doubling down, I don't know if it'll ruin their chances for a championship, but I don't think this core can last any longer beyond the season if they're going to try and keep Jordan Poole and Draymond Green on the same roster. Now, can they miraculously be like, hey, everything is all good, everything's all cool, we fixed everything, Draymond just punched me and now it's kumbaya, then sweet, so be it. But like when it gets out to the public like that, the unfortunate part is you kind of destroy the public image of what that relationship could be, and so that's constantly going to live in the shadow of these guys. And so for me it's like, damn, I think they could still win this year regardless of what happens. But even Kevon Looney said it in his recent press conference. He was like, he's got to do a job of rebuilding the trust with us. So it's like if y'all think that he's gonna be on an island, how can Draymond lead with his voice when he's done that all his career? And then you come into the situation now where it's like, if you speak, I'm a bit desensitized to it now. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
like the whole environment has changed because the thing went public. And I think even internally, they would have been like, bro, like Draymond can't be the same guy with us because he, he reached a different kind of type of boiling point where it's like just went overboard. And so those things kind of have to be fixed. So I don't know. Even if it went, even if it didn't go public though, I feel like this still would have been a significant issue. I don't know. I don't know what you think about, my thoughts, but
I see it for sure. But I just think that again, the only reason it's as blown out of proportion as it is obviously because of like social media and stuff like that.
yeah,
And
100%.
yeah, the Warriors are definitely going to have their hands tied. Not only are they already in like a really cash strapped cap situation, but now you got this whole thing where both these guys are definitely guys that help you win, but it's just a matter of like, do you want to back the guy who's been loyal to the soil since day one, or like
Yeah.
this guy that's the heir apparent? And now with this whole situation in the middle, it's like now you for sure have to like kind of pick between the two. Now, if I'm a Warrior, if I'm the GM, I love Draymond, but I'm probably backing Jordan Poole there. Obviously, yeah, they weren't looking as good with the time that Draymond missed, but you know, I don't. I think you'd be hard pressed to find a lot of teams willing to give Draymond that 30 plus that he's looking for. So in the terms of contracts, that's probably like going to be definitely probably the biggest headline. Like, if you think about it, we're probably not that we'll forget about it, but it's all going to kind of go back into the void of all the noise. But as soon as the NBA champions crown, as soon as we're looking to the off season, that video is going to start to recirculate, I think.
No, I agree. I 100% agree. I would also say Draymond lost a lot of his leverage in contract extensions
Oh, I think he lost like
because
virtually most of it, if not all. Yeah.
yeah, no, I agree because like at this point like he tarnished his image publicly. And a lot of teams don't want to deal with that too. As much as people want to talk about it, the only team that would probably want to deal with it is the Lakers right now. Because they truly don't give a damn. That team is so chaotic, that organization. Rob Pelinka is the worst GM in the league.
Oh my gosh.
Um, if we outline all his moves, they're awful. But that's besides the point. Draymond lost everything, like most of his leverage, if not all, like you mentioned. So if he's looking for 30 million, he's probably not going to get anywhere close to that number. Maybe 20 million, his highest. Which helps the Warriors because they can say, all right, well, the money goes to Jordan Poole because clearly he's shown he's got all-star potential. And Draymond, we want to keep you as a key piece, but we know for a fact you're not going to sign the number you're looking for. So why don't you stay home instead of taking, I don't know, 3 years, 30 million, or 4 years, 30 million? Take a 2 year with a 1 year player option at 20 million. Still, you get your long term contract. You have flexibility to leave, whatever it is. And I think they can negotiate that because Draymond can go and said, "Hey, I've been loyal to you guys. I deserve to be paid." Well, we also were loyal to you, and all the times you kicked people in the balls, you got suspended. The time you made Kevin Durant leave when we could have won 3 championships. Um, you can go on and so forth, like the pros and the cons of Draymond. Basically stand still like this right now because of the fact that with every positive that Draymond has brought to the organization, there's also been a negative.
Yeah, he's
And
probably
so,
had one of the longest leashes. Because I mean, yeah,
no,
he
yeah,
he cost
yeah,
them 2016. He's the reason Kevin left, and now there's this whole thing. I think it's that kind of little man syndrome in a sense, in the fact that he was the second
yeah.
round pick. He had to grind for everything, and you know, now that he's been at the top of the mountain, he sees himself as like one of these top guys, and now new kid on the block, especially with like the fact that that core is on its last legs. It's like I don't know if like saying it's a sense of denial is the right way to put it, but you definitely see the fact that Draymond's not willing to give up ground, And
Yeah.
Jordan obviously kind of paid the price for that, which isn't something that should have happened, but did.
No, I agree. I mean, we can go on and on about this situation. I think you and I kind of like we echo each other's sentiments and
Hmm.
stay pretty much on the same ground here. It's you know the what the Warriors benefited the most from this video getting leaked,
Yeah, I think the way you
right?
outlined it in that it kills all of Draymond's leverage makes it so that yeah, they're probably going to be able to offer him like way
Right.
less money. Yeah.
Like even in that situation, a physical altercation, they hide it. Anything could have happened, but with it coming out, people were speculating like, oh, the Warriors are trying to hide or protect or whatever. But like now, it's like, oh, okay, the Warriors had nothing to do with this. Draymond just went crazy, and so literally, you can't sit there and say, "Oh, the organization had an issue." Why are they, sitting Draymond down when it's probably like some small thing they could have figured out? Now, like the credibility of the franchise goes, "Oh, this is a great PR stunt, right?" And
Yeah.
then obviously the Draymond contract extensions and all that stuff like is all involved. So it's like, we like again we can go on and on about this, but like yeah, this whole situation is so messy, and it's honestly been so fun to see things play out. And then I obviously tweeted, and it got a little engagement this morning. I was like, why did Draymond's mom double down? And like they're literally gonna see each other at the ring ceremony. So I don't like how this thing is, but you know,
Yeah, I guess last little bit of that, I'm gonna speak on it. Did you hear the person that leaked it only got like 50 grand or something like that? I mean, not to say that's not good money, because that is good money, but for something that valuable, shit, that was definitely probably the first offer, and you looked back.
yeah,
If I had
I
that
didn't I
video,
didn't know that. I didn't know that.
I don't know if that's
But
true. I think
that's
that's
probably
something I heard from another podcast. It was like anywhere. It was like something between 50 to 100 grand.
But they're running a full investigation now as to who would have leaked it. And it's for sure somebody in
Oh,
security.
that person's cooked for
Yeah,
sure.
it couldn't have been a video coordinator because that footage of angle looked like it was
It
a
was
security
off the
camera
phone. That
or
and it
something.
was
Yeah,
like pointing at
they're
like that.
recording. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's definitely not a video coordinator because he easily could have downloaded that footage, sent it to them, and then boom, whatever. But yeah, dude, this whole situation is so messy. Like, isn't it so weird how the two teams in the NBA Finals last year are going through so much BS?
I know.
Like, it's just so interesting, and it's like, it's also really bad because I obviously feel so bad for Emi Udoka and his family, and I feel so bad for Draymond and Jordan because I personally love Draymond and the way he plays and like what he's brought to winning basketball and even the new media stuff that he does. Like,
Mm.
I love it. And Jordan Poole is actually one of my favorite players right now in the league. So, well,
Yeah, it's just I don't want to say it's making for an exciting season, but it's making for an exciting season.
exciting
I'm
season. Yeah,
ready. This time
me
next
too.
week, we're gonna be talking about real balls bouncing, real men shooting balls, all the balls, man.
Penetrating to the hoop, penetrating
Hundred
to the
percent
hole.
penetrated the D, sucking the D in, all that.
Yeah, wow, that's crazy. Hey, yo. Man, dude, yeah, we're gonna be talking after the first games.
Oh
So,
yeah, for sure.
um, you know what? Why don't we just quickly
I'm
go over that, like
I know
opening night?
Philly is one of the opening games. I think it's
Yeah,
Philly and while he's looking that up though, if you're
yeah.
still made it
So,
this far,
oh yeah,
y'all better like and comment and all that stuff. Subscribe to the
so
pod, all that.
both teams in the finals last year are gonna be playing opening night. 76ers. We're gonna see the nice retooled,
Yeah,
revamped 76ers against the Boston Celtics. That'll be a nice matchup. Followed by the Warriors ring ceremony
Steph
against
gets to
LeBron
collect his
James.
shit in front of LeBron.
Yeah, man, that's gonna be fun. I mean, I think I'm really excited about that Eastern Conference matchup more than I am about seeing the Warriors Lakers. I am
Yeah,
excited to see
that
the Warriors
that
get their
Lakers Warriors game is gonna be over by like the third quarter, if that.
Can I be honest with you though?
Run it.
I think if the Lakers put everything together I think they're a top 4 team this year.
Top 4? That...
Have you seen? Are you? Did you watch AD in the preseason?
Oh, 80 is a dog for
He
sure.
looks, he
But
looks freaking good, man. And they
I
just need
I
him to be good.
I
They just
think
need him to be solid
it's
this
the
year.
same thing with the Nets though. Are you
Okay,
gonna
yeah,
get
that's fair.
60 games out of AD? Probably not. Are
No,
you gonna get 60 games out of LeBron? Probably not. And the crazy thing is that
I think
LeBron's
he
probably
will.
more like, oh, LeBron.
I think he will.
I'm not gonna lie. When LeBron passes Kareem, it,
He's gonna be sitting.
if I don't, he's not gonna be GOAT. But like, I think it's undeniable that it's 1A, 1B. Even though that's kind of how I already see it. Like, I don't think there's any way that you kind of have one below the other. I think they're equal footing if he passes Kareem or when he does. But yeah.
I think LeBron has to average 18 points per 82 games this year for him to pass Kareem. I think LeBron's going to average 27 again this year,
Mm.
and I think he's going to play 60 games, and he's going to have a few nights where he blows up. I think he's going to pass it. I think for him to he really wants to pass these records, obviously, and don't forget about the Magic Johnson assist record. I believe that he's also got to pass.
Oh yeah.
So he's got to play as many games for him to finish that this season, because I'm sure as hell that he doesn't want to worry about the following season when his mind is kind of set on where Bryce, lands, because this is his senior year, right? And
Yeah,
then he's
and
going
then
into
they're
college
talking
next
about
year.
in the Players Association about letting the high schoolers.
Yeah, 18-year-olds. Yeah, that's right. And I think LeBron's leading that charge to try and get Bryce into the league by next year.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie.
Interesting stuff.
I'm drafting Bronny. I'm drafting.
Oh,
Bronny,
sorry, I said
whichever...
Bryce. I was saying Bronny, but Bryce looks insane. He's 6'6"
Oh,
now.
I think Bryce is the truth. Bronny's
Yeah,
like
Bryce is the truth.
Bronny's alright, but Bryce, he's not motherfucker.
I think Bronny's actually gonna be really good. I think he can, because he's 6'4", right? I think he can be a true guard in this league. But I think he's too tentative.
Mm.
I think he's got a lot of the early LeBron James attributes where he's too tentative. And I think if he just said, you know what, I'm the best player on the court, I think he'd dominate every single night.
No doubt. Speaking of dominating, I'm calling it. March 12th, 2023 is when LeBron's going to break Kareem's record. Because
Against the Raptors.
No. Let me think about this, Ruben. The way LeBron been trying to hoop recently, getting all the 3-point looks and all that in the off season, he's riding that Steph Curry dong. So of course he's going to want to break it in front of the Knicks.
That's true.
So March 12th, it's not in the Garden, but it'll be against the Knicks.
That would be kind of nice to see him against the Knicks.
I just hope it's not like, because I know Steph, when he did it against the Knicks, I think he had like a decent chance to do it against the Pacers, but obviously, we fucking want to do that in Indiana, because that's Indiana. But
who the fuck? Did you see that there's a percentage thing too that broke it down that most likely he's gonna reach it against Toronto? By the time he plays in Toronto,
the
that he
December
could break
game?
the record in Toronto. No. The later game, the latter game. I think they're in Toronto. But there was like this
that's the game before the
like,
Knicks one.
Yeah, there's a huge breakdown saying like 61%, which was the highest percent for him to break the record, would be against Toronto on that day. So, I mean,
Wait, is that at
man,
Scotia?
I would hate that another fucking record goes against Toronto, man. I hate this. Everyone wants to do everything against the Raptors. 81 points, Jeremy Lin. Like, why do we need to do it against Toronto? Like, we already stole the championship in 2019. Like, come on, man.
All retribution.
It's okay. LeBron can have a scoring record. We stole Scotty Barnes from the league, so
100%. But with that has been another episode of the Blacktop Podcast, y'all. We've been going for like an hour and 44 minutes. So, if you've made it this far, obviously you at least somewhat enjoyed. this is the Backshots podcast now, but with that, like, comment, subscribe, follow, all that stuff, and
Come and subscribe.
Hundies, Dundies,
Yeah, subscribe and come.
Hundies. But I mean, again, next week we're gonna be talking about the real balls. But with that, stay safe,
The
stay
Lilla balls.
blessed. We'll see y'all soon.
Back
Backshots,
shots.
backshots, backshots.